I never thought something as simple as clothes could change my life, or ruin it. Yet, here I was, staring at a wardrobe full of frills, lace, and colors I'd never dared to touch before. My mom stood behind me, her hands firm on my shoulders, eyes sparkling with an intensity one hadn't seen in years. "You're going to wear this," she said, holding up a silky pink dress, delicate lace edging, and a hem that barely reached my knees. My throat went dry. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to argue. I wanted to run. But the words caught in my chest. "Mom, seriously? This isn't me," I stammered. "No excuses," she replied, voice steady, unwavering. "You're wearing it. Now." And just like that, my world shifted. The simple act of putting on clothes became a battle for my identity, my autonomy, and my dignity. The first time I slipped into the dress, I felt every inch of it cling to me in ways I didn't understand. My chest felt exposed, even though it wasn't. My shoulders, arms, legs, all suddenly seemed under scrutiny, both by my mother and by some invisible audience that existed only in my mind. She handed me a pair of heels, pink, glossy, and absurdly high. "You'll need these, too," she said. I shook my head, panic rising. "I can't walk in those. I'll fall." "Try," she said, a thin smile on her lips. "It's just a little practice." The first step was agony. My ankles wobbled. The heels clicked against the floor like a drumbeat of humiliation. But my mom's presence anchored me, her hands guiding me, correcting posture, adjusting the dress, smoothing my hair. I was trapped, literally forced to learn, forced to perform, forced into a persona that wasn't mine. When I finally looked in the mirror, I barely recognized the person staring back. Soft features, delicate posture, the sway of the hips, the reflection whispered a promise I didn't want to hear. "You're becoming her version of perfect." The next days were worse. My mom had a plan, and I was its unwilling participant. She insisted I wear dresses at home, practice walking in heels, even speak with a softer, higher tone. Friends stopped by, and I was expected to present this new image, smiling, laughing, and acting like someone I wasn't. "Is something different about you?" my friend Mark asked one day, squinting. I froze, panic clawing at me. Nothing. Just new clothes," I muttered, wishing the floor would swallow me whole. Mark tilted his head, unconvinced. My mom beamed at him, proud, as though I were a doll on display. I felt every stare, every glance, every whispered curiosity like a knife twisting in my chest. I was embarrassed, humiliated, and utterly trapped in a role I didn't choose. When my mom wasn't around, I explored the dress and makeup in secret. I was terrified, but curiosity gnawed at me. How did it feel? What could I do with this new persona? The mirror became my private confessional, my arena for experimentation. I slipped into another dress, a soft lavender this time, and adjusted my hair. The fabric hugged me differently, soft against my skin. I tried makeup, dabbed foundation, and tentatively applied blush. My fingers shook. I had never touched makeup like this before, never imagined myself looking like this. When I looked in the mirror, I saw her version of me, polished and delicate. And, strangely, a flicker of thrill ran through me. I hated that I liked it, hated that part of me felt powerful. I experimented with voice, posture, even subtle gestures, testing what it felt like to inhabit this other self. But the moment my mom returned, the thrill became fear again. "Did you practice?" she asked. I nodded, heart pounding. "Good. We're going out." Public outings were the worst. My mom insisted I wear full dresses, heels, and styled hair whenever we left the house. The first walk to the corner store felt like a battlefield. Every eye in the street seemed to follow me, whispering, judging. I wanted to vanish, to hide, to shed this persona like a coat of shame. But she guided me, held my hand, whispered instructions under her breath. Step by step, I learned to walk, sway, and tilt my head. People stared, but slowly, I began to notice something surprising. I could hold their gaze. I could respond with a smile, a subtle gesture, and command attention without fear. Each outing, terrifying as it was, became a lesson. I learned the art of presence, the way a tilt of the chin or sway of the hips could transform fear into poise. Each compliment, each whispered acknowledgement, built a strange mix of embarrassment and empowerment. I was learning, unwillingly at first, that I could inhabit this persona fully. School brought its own trials. I couldn't hide the subtle changes my mom insisted upon. A softer voice, careful gestures, even hints of makeup. Friends noticed. They whispered, they stared, they laughed softly. "Is that really you?" one classmate asked, curiosity in their eyes. Panic flared. Exposure felt imminent. But I remembered my mom's lessons. Straighten your back. Tilt your chin. Smile lightly. I did exactly that. "Yes, just trying something new," I whispered, voice trembling but steady. And for the first time, I realized, this wasn't just about clothes. It was about control, presence, power. Even forced into this role, I was discovering a new side of myself. Someone who could command attention, navigate scrutiny, and survive embarrassment with grace. The first real test came at a small family gathering. My mom insisted I wear my newest dress, a flowing teal gown, delicate lace along the neckline. She styled my hair in loose waves and applied light makeup. "You'll need to interact with everyone," she said, eyes gleaming. I walked into the room, heels clicking on the floor. Conversations paused. Eyes followed. My heart raced, but I remembered everything I had learned in private. Posture, gestures, subtle smiles, tone of voice. Step by step, I moved through the crowd, greeted relatives, responded to compliments. Panic mingled with a strange exhilaration. I realized I could perform this role convincingly, even under intense scrutiny. By the end of the night, exhausted but exhilarated, I finally understood the paradox of my situation. I was trapped, forced into a persona I didn't choose, but in inhabiting it fully, I was learning resilience, poise, and a power I never knew I had. Weeks passed. The routine continued, practice at home, outings with my mom, subtle displays of transformation at school. I hated parts of it, yet I began to notice the thrill of mastery. Walking gracefully, speaking softly, adjusting gestures, it became a skill. A weapon. Even my friends began to respect the poise I displayed, whether they understood it or not. And then came the ultimate confrontation. One afternoon, my friend Mark caught me fully dressed, walking home from school. His eyes widened in shock. "Wait, is that you?" he asked, disbelief in his voice. I froze. Heart hammering. Exposure felt like a trap closing in. I remembered every lesson, every step, every whispered instruction from my mom. I straightened, tilted my chin, and whispered softly, "Yes, just trying something new." The words were careful, rehearsed, but the confidence behind them was real. And in that moment, I realized something extraordinary. Even forced into this role, I could inhabit it fully. I could command presence. I could thrive. Over time, I learned to balance fear and empowerment. The persona my mom had forced upon me became a tool, a skill, a hidden strength. I practiced daily, ventured out into public with careful grace, and discovered confidence I had never imagined. I wasn't just surviving. I was mastering. Each step, each gesture, each glance was mine to command. The thrill of transformation became exhilarating, and I realized that even though I had been forced, I had found freedom within constraint. By the time I stood in front of the mirror one evening, adjusting my dress, smoothing my hair, I saw more than the reflection of the person my mom wanted. I saw myself, resilient, graceful, empowered. I had been forced to dress, but in doing so, I had discovered a side of myself that was fearless, commanding, and unapologetically alive. And for the first time, I smiled, not because I was perfect, but because I was mine. When my mom finally left for the evening, I collapsed onto my bed, heart still racing from the day's humiliations. The dress I'd been forced to wear clung to me in ways I couldn't ignore, and the heels, thankfully removed, still left a tingling memory in my calves. I stared at myself in the mirror across the room, half dreading what I might see, half curious. Slowly, hesitantly, I reached for another dress in my sister's old drawer, something softer, lighter, less imposing than the bright pink monstrosity from earlier. The fabric slid over my skin, cool and delicate, and I felt an unfamiliar awareness of my body. My chest, shoulders, hips, they all felt different somehow, more vulnerable, more exposed. I picked up the makeup kit my mom had insisted I practice with. Foundation, blush, mascara, tools I had never imagined touching. My hands trembled as I dabbed a little foundation on my cheeks, then added a touch of blush. I gasped at the reflection. My face seemed softer, more delicate, almost feminine. I felt a strange thrill mixed with guilt, a heat rising to my ears I couldn't explain. I experimented with my hair, brushing it slowly, twisting a lock around my finger, letting it fall softly around my face. I tilted my chin, tried a tentative smile, and adjusted my posture, mimicking the graceful movements my mom had drilled into me. I sounded strange when I tried speaking in a softer tone, but the effect in the mirror fascinated me. Step by step, I began to move differently, crossing my legs while sitting, tilting my hips as I stood, subtly swaying while walking around my room. I was learning the rhythms of this new persona. Every motion felt strange at first, then thrilling, as if I were discovering a secret language of the body. I paused, staring at myself, heart hammering. Who was this person? She wasn't entirely me, and yet, somehow, she felt like a side of me I'd never met. The mix of embarrassment, fear, and curiosity made me shiver. I had been forced into this role, yes, but in this privacy, I was beginning to explore it on my own terms, and the sensation was intoxicating. Hours passed unnoticed. I practiced walking in heels along the edge of my bed, feeling each step wobble and stabilize. I tried different expressions in the mirror, testing smiles, soft glances, and subtle movements. With each attempt, a small thrill surged through me, a blend of fear, shame, and exhilaration. By the end of the night, I was exhausted but exhilarated. I had discovered something unexpected. Even in a world that felt forced upon me, I could explore, experiment, and, even if only secretly, find a sense of mastery and curiosity. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet, hesitant thought emerged. Maybe this wasn't just about being forced. Maybe it could be about choice, about discovering a side of me I hadn't known existed. The first time I had to leave the house fully dressed in one of my mom's chosen outfits, my chest felt tight, my stomach a tangled mess of nerves. The dress was a soft lavender, swaying just above my knees, and the heels clicked painfully against the wooden floor as I took my first hesitant steps toward the front door. My mom's eyes were sharp, assessing every inch of my posture, every sway of my hips. "Walk like you own it," she said, her voice firm. "Chin up. Shoulders back. Confidence." I nodded, though my legs felt like jelly. As soon as we stepped outside, the world seemed suddenly enormous. Neighbors paused mid-chore, glancing at me with curiosity. Cars slowed at the curb as I passed. The stares pierced me, and I wanted to vanish. "Relax," my mom whispered, squeezing my hand. "They're not important. You are." I focused on her words, forcing myself to walk taller, move more gracefully, though each step felt like an experiment in balance. My heels wobbled, but gradually, my body began to remember what I had practiced in secret. I swayed, lifted my chin, let my voice soften slightly when I spoke. By the time we reached the corner store, I realized something astonishing. People were noticing me, but I wasn't collapsing under it. I could hold their gaze, respond with a subtle smile, and navigate curiosity with poise. Panic still surged occasionally, but with each step, it was tempered by a growing thrill. Over the next few weeks, public outings became a mix of terror and exhilaration. School was the hardest. My friends noticed subtle changes, my posture, my gestures, even the softening of my voice. "Is that really you?" one friend asked quietly, eyes wide. I froze. Heart hammering, panic clawing at my chest. Then I remembered what I had learned at home. Straighten your back. Tilt your chin. Smile lightly. "Yes, just experimenting," I said, my voice soft but steady. It was the first time I realized I could navigate scrutiny, curiosity, and even judgment without collapsing. The thrill of being seen, truly seen, was both terrifying and intoxicating. Social gatherings pushed me further. My mom arranged a small party with friends and neighbors, insisting I attend in a flowing teal dress, hair curled softly, makeup delicate but noticeable. My heart raced as I stepped into the room, heels clicking against the floor, all eyes turning toward me. But this time, something had shifted. I moved with purpose, smiled naturally, and responded to compliments with calm confidence. Each interaction, each glance, each whispered acknowledgement felt like a small victory. I realized I was no longer simply performing a role. I was inhabiting it, even if it had been forced upon me. By the end of the night, exhausted but exhilarated, I understood something profound. Even though this persona had been imposed, I had discovered an unexpected strength. I could command presence, navigate attention, and even feel a sense of empowerment in a role I hadn't chosen. Public spaces became my arena for practice and discovery. Cafes, parks, malls, I experimented with posture, gestures, voice, and expressions. Each successful interaction, each subtle compliment, taught me something about resilience, grace, and control. There were moments of fear. One afternoon, a classmate spotted me in full dress and froze mid-step. "Wait, is that really you?" they whispered. My heart nearly stopped. But I remembered everything I had practiced. The posture, the tilt of the chin, the soft smile. "Yes, just trying something new," I said, voice trembling slightly but steady. The words felt strange, rehearsed, but the confidence behind them was real. For the first time, I realized that even in a world I hadn't chosen, I could inhabit it fully, survive exposure, and even thrive. By the time I returned home that evening, heels sore, cheeks flushed, I realized how far I had come. Fear had not vanished, but it had transformed into something else, a mixture of awareness, control, and even quiet thrill. I had been forced into this world, forced to dress, but in the process, I had discovered a side of myself that was strong, adaptable, and unexpectedly empowered. The reflection in the mirror that night wasn't just a girl trapped in dresses. It was someone learning to navigate the world with poise, someone discovering that power could emerge from even the most humiliating circumstances. And though I hated that it had taken coercion to get here, I couldn't deny the subtle satisfaction, the knowledge that I could inhabit this identity, fully and confidently, when I chose to.